We are here with a lot more from the Canon booth here throughout the day, and we're starting off with this gentleman here. We've taken some refuge in the CPS lounge because it's crazy out there. We've only been open for half an hour or so and the floor is absolutely jam-packed. But like I say, we've invited one of the Canon ambassadors to come and join us. This gentleman here does a bit of everything, it's fair to say. Works, whether it's out on location in some pretty treacherous conditions, in the studio, commercial, landscape, you name it, this man does it, and does it with serious aplomb. What's really interesting is that he's not a trained photographer, like so many of the photographers that we've been speaking to here over the last few days. He's got a background in design, and we'll be touching on all of those points over the next 5 or 10 minutes or so as we chat to Mr. Clive Booth. How are you doing, Clive?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, that's lovely of you to say so. Although I can't do everything. DIY is something that I really struggle with. Okay. But I did once install a cat flap and it was spot on. But everything else, you're absolutely bang on.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. So, Clive, you are here talking to me, talking to the good folk who are visiting Photokina this year about a number of things, one of which is we're getting a bit of a flavour of behind us. It's some work that you recently undertook for the Birmingham Royal Ballet. It's called Fire and Fury, and it's spectacular. Tell anyone who hasn't seen any of the work from that yet a bit more about the project.
Okay, well, to go back, the story began at the photography show in Birmingham, and I had a lovely crowd there, and one of, as many people do, they come over and chat with you at the end. And this chap, he came over to see me. He actually came to 3 of my talks, and he stayed awake in 2 of them. So I thought, this is somebody I need to, get to know. And he and I became good friends. And there was something about him that intrigued me. It was his posture, actually, and I'm very conscious, as we sit here about that. Yeah. He told me he was a dancer, and then eventually he revealed that he was the principal dancer, or one of the principal dancers of the Birmingham Royal Ballet, Tyrone Singleton, and the project grew from there, really. And we became good friends, and this idea evolved from that point. He took us, my wife and I, backstage. He showed us the set design, the wardrobe, the costumes, but most interestingly for me was the ballet shoe and the story of the ballet shoe. We followed that, and we were going to actually make a film, and we put months of effort into that. Sadly, that project fell through, as often these projects do. And then it didn't end there, because the collaboration had sort of reached a point with the Birmingham Royal Ballet where we sort of started to partner and collaborate between Canon and BRB, and they had a new production. Or a program, Ballet Now program, and part of that program is called Fire and Fury. And there's 2 productions, The King Dancers and Ignite. And the Ignite production really, I felt, was something that we could get our teeth into. I mean, the overall image that we've created is to cover Fire and Fury. So I took the inspiration from Fire and Fury and Ignite, and this is where the project came from.
And we've got some of the images over in the gallery, the print gallery here on the Canon booth, but also behind us on the screen as well right now. And Fire and Fury, the visual of the flame, the palette of the flame is certainly very, very prominent here, as well as the flame itself. And it's very interesting, I think, how you've managed to capture that transient, ever-flickering flame, obviously without setting any of your dancers on fire.
That was the thing. Initially, we did consider, setting dancers on fire, but we ruled that out very quickly. You could comp that. And in fact, last year we did a project. I did a project with Canon Europe, a beauty project, where we actually comped a model with fire, and it was very effective. But I wanted this to be an in-camera shot. And also last year I worked with chiffons and silks, and I realized very quickly that we could emulate fire with this. So we took that idea, and then Tyrone and I sort of built this whole approach around chiffons and silks, and then it just grew and grew, really. Until finally, if anybody's seen it, you see the behind-the-scenes film, the excellent behind-the-scenes film, and you can see the level that we got to with this. And in fact, I have to say, the shoot exceeded my own expectations, really. But we broke down the colours of fire, and so my excellent stylist Emma, got these beautiful sort of blues, purples, reds, yellows, oranges, silks, and so we gave ourselves a number of options. And of course, as photographers and filmmakers, we're content providers, really. And that's what we've done. We've created a lot of content for this. And it's being used by Birmingham Royal Ballet, and it's being used by Canon. And the timing's actually really interesting because the production opens next Wednesday. Yeah, so I've actually been in the rehearsals both last week, and next Tuesday I'm doing full stage rehearsals with EOS-R as well.
Right. Okay, good stuff. Obviously, seeing the behind-the-scenes film that we saw a bit of on the stage yesterday on the Spotlight stage, terrific stuff. Seeing it printed out as well, as we've got in the print gallery, that adds another layer. And I know that the output stage is something you're very passionate about. So tell me more about what your connection is with printed media.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned earlier, I have a 20-year background in graphic design. I was trained in graphic design, but actually I had training in photography, but not as a pure degree. You know, my education was in graphic design actually, and I still, when students ask me what's a good way to get into film and photography, I still push people towards mixed media because I think it's important. It gives you that option. But I spent 20 years working as a designer for print. So, working on the back of printing presses, in those days it was 4-color print. Of course, now we've got these incredible 12-color printers. And we've got, as a brand actually, we're the only brand in the world that goes from input to output. Nobody else does that. And as a photographer, filmmaker, and someone who loves print, Canon have got a product for every single aspect of my workflow. So it's wonderful, really. But my real passion, I have to say, out of everything, is to be at home making prints. I love it. You know, because as you'll see from the behind-the-scenes film, when we were in the studio, it's not mayhem, it's controlled sort of mayhem. I mean, a huge amount of preparation goes into that. But I have to say, it's terrifying as well. It's very scary. So when you've delivered and you've got this great team and all this preparation, when you've captured these files, the next great thing is to actually make the prints. To be at home, you're peace and quiet with my early coffee, and in my whole color managed workflow at home set up. I love that. And
to see it spring to life, or the flame ignite in front of you on the screen and indeed coming out of the printer as well, must be a real buzz. And I guess, like you say, end to end in terms of what Canon's able to provide professionals, but also in terms of your involvement with the project as well, from the big bang, from the genesis right the way through to the finished product. I can see that be very satisfying.
Yeah, it's hugely satisfying. I mean, just to talk about print for a moment. I mean, the print is tactile. I can't carry around a reference monitor with me, a calibrated reference monitor around with me, showing people my work. That's just never going to happen. So the best way for me and other photographers is to actually make a print and to show people your work, you work with ink on paper. There's a value to print. And it's actually arguable, unless you've got a huge amount of money, that maybe the best way to archive your work, even now with modern technology being what it is actually ink on paper.
Listen, Clive, fascinating to talk to you. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap up now because there's other people wanting to present on this stage right now. But if you're here at Photokina today, make your way down to Hall 3.2 and you can see Clive Booth's work, even have a chat with the man himself here. That's all for now. We'll be back later on with more conversations with Canon ambassadors, getting hands-on with some more kit as well. Have a great day if you're here. Otherwise, follow Canon events on Twitter and we'll see you there.